My name's Casey Butler, and last Thursday was supposed to be just another dead-end Thursday in St. Louis. You know the kind. Keurig coffee, black hoodie, shuffle to the car, and that awkward little wave to neighbors I don't even like. But before I even finished tying my sneakers, something in the air felt wrong. Thick and humid like the city before a thunderstorm, only this was inside my chest. Even my dog, Gracie, wouldn't eat her breakfast. He licked his lips and regarded Gracie with dread, a feeling like he might be dousing her wood. His stomach was turning inside out, first thick with dread, then humor, then Gracie wouldn't eat her breakfast. She just kept whining at the front door, tail tucked low, staring like she could see something I couldn't. The streets weren't empty, but they weren't right. No school buses, just a beat-up military van parked in front of old Mr. Holden's place, engine off, windshield fogged from the inside. The soldiers inside didn't move. A few houses down, Mrs. Presley was yelling at her son to put on his jacket, but her voice cracked, like she'd been screaming or crying all night. There was blood on her driveway, a little drip trail that snaked under her car. I stared at it too long enough that she caught me and slammed the door. That's how my day started, and honestly, it was the best part. I drove to work anyway, even though my gut was screaming at me to call in sick. The radio was all emergency broadcasts tests, just static and that shrill beep nobody ever listens to. At the office, people were coughing, not that cute little allergy cough, but deep, hacking ones that made you wince. Nobody looked at each other. My boss, Trina, called a weird meeting at 10 a.m. She told everyone to check their phones for news alerts and not to fall for rumors, which only made it worse. Then half of our messages stopped going through, and we kept getting calls that cut off mid-sentence. Lunch was silent. I tried texting my best friend Chris 3 times, but the little bubbles never showed up. My mom left a voicemail asking if I was safe and telling me to stay home tonight. My cousin in Texas posted something about do not answer your door even if they scream. That post got deleted 5 minutes later. By 2 p.m. the internet was basically dead. Half the office left early. I made some excuse about Gracie needing meds and got out, but the drive home felt like a horror movie. Sirens everywhere, cops with rifles blocking off side streets. Some people just standing on their lawns, staring at the sky like they were waiting for something. I parked at home and bolted the door. For the first time ever, I dragged my dad's old tool chest out of the garage, used it to wedge the back door shut. Gracie kept whining and scratching at the window. I shut the blinds. Every time I checked my phone, there were new alerts. Shelter in place, do not respond to screams for help. I tried to call Chris again, but it just rang and rang. A neighbor banged on my door, begging to come inside, but I froze and pretended I wasn't home. I watched him through the peephole. He was crying. Then he just stopped and walked away, stumbling like he was drunk. My hands were shaking so bad I dropped my phone and cracked the screen. That night, as I sat on the floor with my arms around Gracie, I heard it. A scream. Not a TV scream, but real, tearing through the neighborhood, begging for help. Then another, and another, all from different directions. The alerts kept repeating, do not respond to screams. I held Gracie tighter. I did not move. Something was off. Something was coming. And for the first time in my life, I knew I couldn't help anyone but myself. I didn't sleep that night. I kept hearing those screams, each one closer than the last. But I did what they said. I didn't answer, didn't even peek. By morning, my mouth tasted like battery acid, and Gracie hadn't stopped pacing the hallway. My phone was still useless. No bars, no Wi-Fi, just a never-ending stream of old emergency alerts. When daylight finally started bleeding through the blinds, I cracked one open and saw the world had gone sideways. A car had crashed into the neighbor's mailbox, windshield punched in, the airbags all bloody. There was nobody inside. Across the street, a woman I'd never seen before was just standing on her front porch. No shoes, wearing what looked like hospital scrubs, swaying back and forth like she was drunk. I watched her for a solid 5 minutes, waiting for her to call out or go back inside. She never did. A delivery truck sped past, wrong way, on a one-way street. I saw the driver's face, twisted, pale, mouth open like he was screaming. I saw him laugh. I whispered to him like he looked at me for a second through the glass. It felt like he was warning me. The first time I realized it was real, it wasn't even dramatic. Gracie started barking like crazy at the back door. I peeked through the blinds and saw old Mr. Holden, the same neighbor with the military van parked out front. Only now he was alone, face slack, hands pressed against the glass, leaving bloody prints. He started pounding on the door, just once, hard enough to rattle the frame. I wanted to help him, I really did, but the memory of that alert, "Do not respond to screams," played over and over in my head. I pulled Gracie back and made sure every lock was tight. That's when my phone finally buzzed. Just once, a single text from Chris. "Are you okay? Don't go outside. They're everywhere." I tried calling him, but it went straight to voicemail. The house felt smaller with every second. I started gathering things without thinking. Water bottles, snack bars, the baseball bat from under my bed, the emergency flashlight that barely worked. I took a knife from the kitchen and locked myself and Gracie in the bathroom, just to have one more door between us and everything else. I could hear footsteps on the porch. Sometimes they stopped right at my door and just stood there. Other times I'd hear heavy dragging footsteps in the yard, or the unmistakable sound of someone or something sniffing at the windows. That afternoon I saw the first one up close. Someone was pounding on my front door again, harder this time, like they were trying to break it in. I hid with Gracie in the hallway, clutching the bat so hard my knuckles went numb. Through the peephole, I saw the face of a guy from the next block. His skin was pale and his eyes were all wrong, milky, unfocused, but his mouth moved in a way that almost sounded like words. He screamed, but it was twisted, not human. Something about it made my whole body tense up. He kept screaming until his throat was raw, then just dropped to the ground, writhing like an animal. His fingers scratched bloody lines down the door. I wanted to open it, to help him, but I just couldn't. I couldn't risk it. A few hours later, the screaming stopped. The silence was worse. The only thing left was this weird moaning, this hollow sound that seemed to come from every direction at once. My neighborhood, the one where I grew up, was gone. All that was left was me, Gracie, and the echo of screams I was forbidden to answer. I realized something else. I wasn't safe here. Not really. The front door wasn't as strong as I thought, and the noises outside were getting louder. I started packing a bag. Just the essentials. I kept telling myself I'd wait until morning, but deep down, I knew there wasn't going to be a perfect time to leave. There was only before and after. As I stood in the living room, ready to move, I heard a knock at the back window. 3 slow taps. Gracie whined. My heart stopped. The world had changed, and so had I. Whatever was outside wasn't my neighbor anymore. It was something else, and it wanted in. I don't know how long I stood there, listening to those taps at the window. My heart thudded so loud I was sure whatever was outside could hear it. Gracie growled, but it wasn't her normal bark. She was scared, confused. That's what made me move. I snapped out of it, grabbed my bag and the bat, scooped Gracie up and slipped through the garage. The last thing I heard was the window glass cracking behind me. Outside, the world was nothing like the day before. Cars were smashed into light poles, front doors hung open, mail scattered everywhere. I kept low, ducking behind hedges, checking every corner like my life depended on it. Because it did. I was maybe halfway down the block when I saw Chris's car crashed into a fire hydrant. The door was open. I knew I shouldn't look, but I couldn't help myself. There was blood on the seat, but no Chris, just his phone, lying in a puddle. The lock screen was full of missed calls, from me, from his mom, from someone named Dad. I kept moving. I needed a place to hide, somewhere not surrounded by glass and thin wooden doors. I spotted the old elementary school, cinder block walls, few windows, big metal doors. I ran for it. The front was wide open, a heavy chain cut right off. I ducked inside, breathing hard. My hands were shaking so bad I dropped my bat. Gracie wouldn't stop whining. The halls were dark and it smelled like bleach and fear. I barricaded myself in a janitor's closet, holding Gracie close. I could hear things moving in the building, heavy footsteps, the occasional thump on a locker. I didn't know if they were people or not. That's when I heard a voice, low and desperate. "Casey?" For a second I thought I was losing it. Then I recognized the voice. Chris. He sounded hurt, but he sounded like himself. I cracked open the door and found him slumped against the wall, holding his side, face pale and slick with sweat. "Don't let them see you," he whispered. "They're not right. They know we're here." We hid together, trying to keep quiet, but it didn't matter. Something found us anyway. First it was just a scraping at the door, then pounding, then screaming, so loud it made my teeth rattle. Chris clutched my arm, begging me not to open the door, but I could see the panic in his eyes. He was bleeding bad, and I knew if we stayed, we were dead. I made a choice I never thought I'd have to make. I left Chris in the closet, promising I'd find help. I lied. I knew I wasn't coming back. I ran, dragging Gracie with me, tears blinding me. Behind me I heard Chris screaming, then nothing at all. I made it to the gym where a handful of others were holed up. Parents, a couple teachers, a terrified teenager with a baseball bat like mine. They let me in. For a second I thought we'd be safe, but it didn't last. A banging at the doors, then glass shattering. One of those things got inside. Chaos, people screaming, fighting, running. I lost track of Gracie for a second and thought my heart would stop. I found her huddled under the bleachers, shaking. We fought our way out. Me, Gracie, the teenager, and a teacher named Mrs. Levesque. The others didn't make it. We ran, not even sure where we were going, just away. My arm was bleeding from where one of those things grabbed me. We ended up behind a gas station, breathless, bruised, and lost. I realized then that everything I thought about safety, about neighbors, about right and wrong, it was gone. I'd left my best friend to die. I'd lied, and I would do it again if I had to. This was survival now. The world I knew was gone, and all I could do was keep moving, one step at a time, into a future I couldn't imagine. Holding Gracie tight, telling myself I was still human, even though I wasn't sure it was true anymore.